Hey guys, Paul here, the Impulsive Culinarian, and in this video I want to talk to you about my chicken fricassee recipe, aka Pollo and Fricase. So welcome to week 3 of my 6 weeks of spring recipes, guys. And in true spring fashion, it's raining outside right now. Beautiful. The windows are open. I love that sound of gentle rain while we're cooking in the Impulsive Culinarian kitchen. The garden is about to get ready to have some planting done, so I can't wait. Might do a little side episode of that. But in the meantime, we're cooking a chicken fricassee recipe. Very springtime. However, I always liked the idea of chicken fricassee, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I didn't want that heavy, creamy sauce. And so after doing a little bit of research, I found out that in the Spanish Caribbean, there is a version of fricassee called Pollo and Fricase. It's basically the Spanish Caribbean version using a tomato-based sauce and red wine, which is right up my alley. All right, so here are the ingredients that you're going to need. All right, so get yourself 2 pounds of chicken thighs. Now, in our family, there's kids involved, so I prefer mine to be boneless. But if you want to keep the bone in for flavor, that's perfectly fine, preferably without the skin. Adobo mojado mixture. I'm going to get into that in a second. 1 red pepper, 1 green pepper, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of dairy-free margarine, 5 shallots, which you're going to roughly chop, 2 carrots, which you're going to peel and cut into a rustic cut, 5 cloves of garlic, thinly sliced, 1 cup of red wine that you would drink, a 14-ounce can, that's the smaller can, of diced tomatoes, a 1/4 cup of chopped fresh coriander, and 2 big bay leaves. So the adobo mojado ingredients, here's what you need. A 1/4 cup of finely chopped fresh oregano, 1/2 of a head of cloves of garlic, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of freshly ground black pepper, and the zest and juice of 1 lemon. Week 3 is going to be good, guys. Let's get cooking on this pollo and fricassee. Week 3. It's finally here, guys. Spring. It's beautiful. Let's have a look. Ah, beautiful. There's the Impulsive Culinarian vegetable garden, devoid of any vegetables yet. It's too early to plant. The herb garden, can't wait till that has some beautiful stuff in there. I just can't wait. Rain is fine. We'll take it. So it's a bit early to be picking the herbs from my very own garden, but in the meantime, you just got to get them from the store. Fresh oregano. Now, when I originally did the test version of this recipe, I chopped everything by hand and I minced the garlic, and I thought, why am I doing this? You know, absolutely, it's good to practice your knife skills, but I'm no spring chicken anymore. So I'm trying it in the blender to see if I could just get it done fast and blitz it. Highly experimental. Highly experimental. Yeah, that worked like a charm. That is exactly what I was looking for. It's nice and liquidy. I don't know if I can see that. There we go. Beautiful. That's going to coat the chicken thighs perfectly. All right, so mission success. The adobo mojado mixture is ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim and clean these chicken thighs and get them into a shallow, non-reactive dish so that I can pour that wet rub on top when I'm done. Okay, so all my chicken thighs are cleaned up and trimmed, and I've got them in this shallow dish. We're using boneless chicken thighs in this recipe because we've got kids. I don't want to take a chance. But if you want to have bone in, a little bit extra flavor when you stew those meats in the fricassee, so by all means. Now, let's take our highly experimental adobo mojado sauce, and pour that over the chicken thighs. All right, so once you've got the rub into your shallow dish, take the time to turn those chicken thighs over and make sure that it coats every single surface of your chicken. Oh, that smells fantastic. The oregano and the garlic, that turned out perfectly. All right, so now that they're all coated, you want to cover this up, get it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, up to an hour if you have the time. Okay, next step. Let's set the broiler on your oven to maximum, because we're going to be roasting some peppers. All right, so the goal is to char and blacken that skin on each of the 2 peppers so that it's easier to peel off. Now, the best way that I found to do that is to chop off the top and the bottom of the pepper. That makes 2 flat pieces right there. And then this is super easy to core. Just through, slice it. Done. All right, pepper number 2. All right, so next you want to get a foil-lined baking sheet, okay? Don't use parchment paper, use foil under the broiler, and get your flat pieces of pepper skin side up onto the baking sheet. Okay, so once your peppers are all lined up, get them in the top rack right under the broiler for around 8 minutes. Use a timer, guys. Okay, so once that timer hits 8 minutes, have a look and see if the peppers are really charred. Now, these are, I would say, 2 minutes shy of being done. I want them really to get blackened, so I'm popping them in with another 2-minute timer. Some good steam coming out of there. I think they're almost ready. Let's have a look. All right, so another 2 minutes is right on. I'm taking those peppers out. Ah, that's perfect. There's the blackened, blistered skin that I was looking for. So let's get a hot plate. We'll turn off the broiler and we're going to transfer these peppers into an airtight container. That humidity and the heat that is still emanating from these peppers is going to slightly detach the skin and make them super easy to peel. All right, so before we get into the cooking part, my chicken is still marinating for another 10-15 minutes. I'm going to finish chopping up my shallots and my garlic, my carrots. All right, so I've got my shallots chopped up into sort of a rough dice, okay? That's the size that I'm looking for. And I'm now going to use the other half of my head of garlic, the stuff that I didn't use for my marinade. So let's slice these up nice and thin. Rustic cut. What is that? I'll show you. So you can cut them however you like, guys. Let's just be honest, it doesn't really matter, okay? But I do this. I basically cut once on an angle, like this, and then this, and then this, and this, all the way down the length of the carrot, and I come up with these sort of mildly triangular pieces. Rustic cut. So the time that you're waiting for that marinade to really do its job on the chicken, perfect opportunity to prepare all your ingredients, chop your herbs, and pour the wine. Pour the wine. Ooh, good idea. Okay, so the last part of the prep section of this recipe is to peel the peppers. And now that they've cooled off and they're able to be handled and manipulated without burning your fingers off, you can see those peels, they just come right off. Like butter. Oh, by the way, any juices that were accumulated while those peppers were cooling, you want to keep that. That is pure flavor going into the broth for sure. Mince up the peppers. Okay, maybe not minced. Let's just call that a small dice. Hey guys, that's a secret ingredient right there. Eh? A little layer of flavor that just sort of says, what is that? Roasted pepper. Excellent addition to this recipe. Let's get cooking. Okay, so those chicken thighs, which smell freaking amazing, by the way, you want to get them out of the marinade and just sort of shake them off a little bit. You don't have to dry them, but just so that there's no excess of marinade. Just like that. Get them in a separate dish. Finally, the cooking begins. Get a large Dutch oven over medium-high heat, add 2 tablespoons of oil. Now, fricassee is halfway between a saute and braising. So we're starting off with the dry version by doing all of the meat, and then we're only adding a little bit of liquid to give it that sort of, it's like a broth, but it's a little bit thicker. And the end result is frickin' spectacular. So let's start by browning these chicken thighs. Not cooking them through, just brown them on all sides and then set them aside in a shallow dish to let the juices accumulate and reserve while we prepare the rest of the meal. All right, so make sure to wait until your pan is good and hot, and the idea here is to not crowd them. You don't want them touching each other so that they get a chance to brown instead of stewing. And when you turn them over, you get that beautiful browning. That's exactly what you want. Pure flavor. So you do that for all of those in small batches and put them aside in your shallow dish. All right, so guys, that's exactly what we're looking for. This chicken is perfectly browned, and inside each piece, there's still some remnants of that adobo mojado, which is going to add excellent flavor. Now, our hot cast iron pan is still piping hot, and all that brown stuff at the bottom is pure flavor. So we're just going to add a shot of margarine, and we're going to put in the shallots and the carrots, and we're going to deglaze to keep all of that flavor in the pan. All right, so guys, you want to turn the heat down to medium, and using a sturdy spoon, scrape all of the brown bits of flavor off from the bottom of the pan while you're sauteing your onions and your carrots. So once you've deglazed the bottom of the pan, it should take around 7 or 8 minutes for those carrots and onions to get nice and soft and tender. And then, for 1 extra minute, you want to add that sliced garlic and just saute it until it's nice and fragrant. All right, so these vegetables have been sauteing for around 6 or 7 minutes, and I would say they look pretty delicious. A nice hearty base. So now it's time to get our thinly sliced garlic and saute that for another minute. Okay, once the garlic has done its trick, add the red wine and your stewed tomatoes. Sorry, diced tomatoes, not stewed tomatoes. Then you can also add your herbs, which is your coriander and your bay leaves, into the broth. So give that a good stir to combine it, and then bring it to a boil and let it all reduce for at least 15 minutes. So while that stuff is reducing, just a note about the chicken. You may be tempted to use chicken breast, but I want to remind you that the reason we're using chicken thighs is because it's a dark meat. And this is the kind of chicken meat that can stand up to a stewing or a braising of this kind. If you're using, just chicken breast, white meat, it's going to get tough. I want to thank Chef Nona for that little tidbit. All right, so this has been reducing for around 15 minutes. Let's have a look. Now this is exactly what makes this a fricassee rather than some kind of a stew. Now that all of the excess liquid has been evaporated, we're really left with this thick sauce. I know it's hard to see with all the smoke, but it is absolutely pure flavor, and it's a fricassee. So now we're ready to add our chicken and our peppers into this concoction. All right, so before we add our chicken, let's add in those chopped up peppers along with all of the juices that have accumulated in the bottom of this dish. All right, so let's stir that up to make sure that it's nice and combined, and then we're going to add in the chicken as well as any of the drippings that have accumulated there as well. All right, with all those chicken thighs nicely tucked in, reduce the heat down to low, cover it, and walk away for 30 minutes. All right, 30 minutes has expired. Let's have a look at this delicious fricassee. Well, it sure does smell good. I wonder how it looks. Yeah, that's the stuff. There we go. So our chicken after 30 minutes is cooked all the way through. This smells fantastic. And I think it's time to serve it over some white rice. So guys, there's a spectacular pollo en fricassee. I would be proud to serve that on any occasion. Definitely over white rice. So guys, thanks for watching week 3 of my 6 weeks of spring recipes. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there are lots more spring recipes on the way. Hey, and I hope you'll join me live every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Guys, I open up a brand new bottle of wine right here live in the Impulsive Culinarian kitchen, and I'm broadcasting it on YouTube and Facebook, and maybe some other channels in the future. So I hope you join me then. My name is Paul, signing off. Catch you in the next video, guys.